gentlemen, sleuths of the night, once again, we gather in search of the truth, dark, and mystery. It's the Drunk Turkey Show.
Big development today in the investigation into the murders of 4 University of Idaho students. According to state and local officials and court documents, 28-year-old Brian Christopher Kohberger has been arrested. He was arrested and arraigned this morning in Pennsylvania.
We have new details on what Brian Kohberger was doing right before his arrest. Police says a tactical team burst in to arrest the Idaho murder suspect. He was in pajamas and latest gloves, stuffing trash into Ziploc bags.
Hey, greetings from the year 3000. It still sucks. This is Philip J. Fry, and you're listening to the Drunken Turkey Show. Your one stop for this sort of thing. Hit that button, like and subscribe. You know what to do, just like every other podcast.
Just like every other podcast. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the DT Show. Hope everybody's having a great week. It's Thursday night. Sorry, I don't think I made it last night. I think I took the night off. I think I did. Sorry, I couldn't make it last night. Had a couple things pop up. Went out with the family, do a couple things, and so we're here tonight. And we're going to be talking about the Jack and Lilly Sullivan disappearance, and mainly kind of focusing in on the most recent search by Please Bring Me Home and their efforts to go and try to locate any evidence of any kind in the Jack and Lilly Sullivan disappearance. And so we're going to talk about that search, and we're going to bring on a special guest who was out on the search, searching the area. His name's John, and he had supplied me with a couple of pictures. We looked at a couple of things. He was out there. And he pick his brain a little bit about what he saw and, where they searched and how things went for him. But before we start, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, ring the notification bell. And if you see the hype button, hit the hype button. Without further ado, let's bring in our special guest, John. Johnny, how you doing, my man? How's it going?
Pretty good. How are you?
Not too bad. It's another day. So I started doing this whole little collecting thing, and I went out and I got my stuff today. I was shocked, but it's been a good day for me. How about yourself? I know we spoke a little bit before the show started. If you want to kind of explain everybody to everybody who you are.
Yeah, sure. So I'm just a typical average guy, I guess. I live in Nova Scotia. I'm about an hour and 45 minutes from Lansdowne Station. So, this sort of thing isn't something that happens very often in Nova Scotia. And, it was something that I guess kind of was, compelling to me. And I felt it, kind of helpless, I guess, just, seeing everything that was going on and everything. And I just wanted to contribute in some way. I don't have any experience in search and rescue, or I'm not a detective, any of those things. I have experience in the woods, and I'm comfortable being in the woods. So that was, one area where I thought I could actually make a contribution. And when the Please Bring Me Home organization was looking for volunteers, I jumped on it and volunteered.
Well, thank you for doing that. And it takes an amazing person to go out there and put aside their time to go and help out, especially when there's 2 little kids that are in need of help. So thank you for what you did and what you're doing. I'm sure there's going to be some more searches in the spring. Do you intend on going on those as well? I
do. Yeah.
Great. So that's good to hear, and thank you, and keep us updated on it. Now, were you? Well, I'm sure you heard about the Jack and Lilly disappearance. Were you following it from the beginning, or is this something that was recent to you?
No, I was following it from the beginning. The weekend that it happened, I heard about it by the end of that weekend. At first I just kind of assumed that they would be found right away. And then, as time went on and they weren't, I became more interested to see, what was going on.
And got you. And so you reached out. I'm assuming they had some sort of sign up for Please Bring Me Home. How did you end up getting signed up with them?
Yeah, I seen the request for volunteers on Facebook,
Mhm.
and I just reached out directly to Please Bring Me Home through there, and they got back with me, and just kind of went from there.
Good deal. And so tell us about how that day started. What time did you show up for the search?
Yeah, so it was. So of course the search was on in the middle of November. I think was it the 15th, 17th, something like that.
Mhm.
And at that time of the year in Nova Scotia, our days are pretty short. So you really don't have a very long window for actually being able to search in daylight. So I think I got there quite early. I think it was around 8 o'clock. We all arrived in Lansdowne Station area and at a meeting point where Nick and the rest of the organization discussed the general plans. We were divided into groups, and then each group kind of went to their location, their starting point. And we all had CalTopo, which is like an app it's a GPS app for tracking your search course basically through the woods or wherever. And then they're all kind of like compiled on the back end. And so that was kind of how that all started. I think we stepped into the woods probably around 9 a.m.
Around 9 a.m. And what was the weather like that day?
It was above freezing. It was overcast. It wasn't a bad day.
Does the fall/winter months, does that do anything for like the area? Is it easier to search or go through the woods or navigate through the woods during that time versus perhaps like the spring or summer where the leaves are coming in, so to speak?
Yeah, I think it would make a difference. There's a lot of softwood trees in this area, but there's also plenty of hardwood or leafy trees as well. The forest floor was completely covered with leaves. So yeah, I would imagine in the spring and summer, the woods would be more dense with leaves.
And so how many people were in your group specifically?
There were 5 people in my group, and we searched. It was 5 kilometers. The area that we searched, like in linear 5 kilometers. It was in a loop, but it totaled 5 kilometers. So we started at I think it was the McLeod Bridge on the, I guess it would be the northern side of the Middle River.
Okay.
And we walked up through the Middle River, and then you go north around Lansdowne Lake, and then up to the Pipeline Trail, down the Pipeline Trail, and then back where the Pipeline Trail meets Middle River, and then back to Gairloch Road, basically.
Now, I'm not completely familiar with the area, and so for those that aren't, we've been looking at a couple of maps. When you mentioned the pipeline, were you anywhere near where the boot prints were?
Yes, I would have walked right by the area where the boot prints were. Luckily I was with one of the lead Please Bring Me Home guys, James, who was really good, and I think he had a pretty good sense of where that actually was. There was like some extra flags and stuff in that area.
Got you. I'm going to bring up some maps. My computer's been acting a little funny. If I freeze, you're still live. So just, it'll be your show at that point. But I want to bring up a map real quick. And let's see. So this is the map that I've kind of developed here. This is the kind of where the boot prints were. From what I understand, did anybody walk like this there's this little trail here. I don't know why it looks so blurry all of a sudden. Let me see if I can. I think I might. Oh, never mind. I'm not frozen. I see you moving. So yeah. This side might be frozen, but Did anybody walk this yellow path?
No, I don't think anybody walked that yellow path specifically.
Okay.
Can I share my screen?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, just a sec. Yeah, I have the actual search route that we took, which I think will be.
That'll help much more.
Yeah, definitely.
So while you're pulling that up, the path on the pipeline, like where the boot print would have been, is it navigatable? Like, is it impossible to walk through? Is it easy to walk through? What is the difficulty of terrain along the pipeline where the boot prints were?
Oh yeah, the pipeline itself is quite easy to walk. Now I don't know exactly what it was like at in the spring versus what it was like when we were there.
Right.
But it was very easy to walk. There's a lot of vegetation, like short vegetation on the pipeline trail itself.
Yeah.
And not super muddy, actually, to my surprise. Now, there are some places where it is muddy, but, for the most part, it was pretty easy going and very easy to walk, I would say.
Understood. So it wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility for two kids to walk up there and continue to walk forward.
No, I wouldn't say so. No.
What about the elevation? Was there a lot of elevation changes going up and down the pipeline?
Yes, there actually were quite a bit of elevation changes on the pipeline itself. But yeah, again, still quite easy to navigate, I would say.
Interesting. And I know that to the sides of the pipeline there was dense forest. One would suspect that if the kids were walking up there, would the sides would funnel them straight, or was there quite a few different trails off the side of the pipeline where somebody could walk off into?
Yeah, that is one thing I will say about that area kind of in general is, I think everybody's heard the comments about the density of the woods there, and that certainly is true. But I'll also add that that's not true in 100% of the time. There are places where the woods isn't as dense as it is in other places. So and also there are a lot of trails. There are game trails, so trails where animals are, walking to water sources or what have you, and then also ATV trails. There's quite a few of those. So there certainly are a lot of places in the woods there that I noticed where you could walk on a trail without having to go through the actual dense part of the woods.
Interesting. I see what you're sharing at the bottom. Can I bring it up, or are you ready with that?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Okay. All right.
Can you see my cursor?
Let me make the screen. Yes, I do.
Okay. So this was our starting point. I'm not sure how to highlight this other than to just kind of use my cursor.
I see it. Yeah, no, I see it. At the bottom of the screen where the kind of where it's off to the red, sort of center of the screen. I see where the cursor is.
Yeah, exactly. Just down from where their home was actually, or where their home is actually, and
just south.
Yeah, so that's where we started the search, and this first part is all along the Middle River, and this was pretty tough going because there were like a lot of branches to the river, and we had to walk across in a few different places to actually get through. This water is quite deep. It is I wouldn't classify it as like intensely fast. I'm sure it is pretty fast flowing, after a rain or when there's more water in there.
Mhm.
But it did seem to be quite deep in some places and also dark. Like you couldn't see to the bottom of this river.
Oh, wow.
And another thing I will note is this section of the river, just before you get to Gairloch Road, I guess I'm assuming it was at one point, like when it was an ancient river, it must have been much bigger because the riverbanks are really steep. One of the pictures that I shared
Mhm.
with you actually kind of depicts that. They're probably like 50 or 60 feet, not completely vertical, but pretty close. Like you can't walk on the bank, or it's very difficult to do so. I just thought that was an interesting
Is that
observation.
is that common throughout the area?
Um, well, that was the only place where I seen that sort of thing in the areas where I searched.
Hmm,
So I'm not sure what it would be like in other places, but in
gotcha.
along this red trail that we followed, it only kind of occurred in this area.
And while y'all are walking through there, what type of things are you guys finding? I know that there was a couple of things that were brought to people's attention, where there was a blanket, I think it was a blue blanket and a sweater, and some other stuff. But I'm sure you guys are finding a lot of miscellaneous trash out there. Is that accurate?
Yeah, absolutely. I actually myself stumbled upon a kid's bicycle. It was
Okay.
on the river bank itself. Most likely it probably got washed down from someone's yard during a storm or whatever and just ended up there. Yeah, and there was a lot of, as you said, like kind of miscellaneous trash along the way. There were sunglasses found and just other random things along the way. And one thing that I discovered along this initial part of the search in this area as well was there was a tree that had fallen many years ago, and the center of it was rotten, so it was actually hollow and
Yeah.
like large enough for a kid to get in. So these are just things that I had kind of on my mind to kind of be aware of, and of course, you have to consider that we're looking at a very narrow scope of the forest too,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, there's definitely lots of little places where things could be hiding.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I mean, it may not be in that specific area, but if you have that happening there, you're probably having trees, having that type of situation occur where the inside is hollowing out and all over the place, and could
Yeah,
be a lot of hiding spots for little kids.
yeah, definitely. And what is even a lot more common than that, and I know that this has been brought up quite a bit, is the in 22, I think there was a pretty fierce hurricane that hit this area, Hurricane Fiona, and it toppled all kinds of trees. And so when that happened, basically the root system of the tree would get pulled out of the ground and the tree would fall over. So you would have like this huge root mass up in the air. And then that would create like all kinds of cavities and openings and, pockets of space
Hmm.
under where the tree was. And there are thousands of these. I looked at some of the ones that we walked by that, kind of caught my attention, and it looked like large enough
Yeah.
that it was worth checking. But yeah, there would be thousands and thousands of these just in this area.
Wow. Wow. So real quick, I want to say thank you to Missy78 saying thanks for great coverage on this case. Let's bring these beautiful children home. Thank you, Missy. Den Cheryl comes with the newest membership. Parrot Rescuer also coming in with a new membership, and Beyond the Perils, the Truth member for 3 months as well. Thank you guys. Appreciate all of you. Um, yeah, yeah. I mean, when you talk about this, I think you're bringing to light the possibility of these kids really being out there. I know it's not the most fan favorite, and I say that because it seems like a lot of people have turned this into almost a sporting event, voting for, cheering for one side, and not really looking towards just the facts of things, and more so with feelings, and more so with like, my beliefs and this and that, and instead of the real possibilities of what could happen. You're really bringing to light the possibilities of how difficult it would be to find somebody who may be lost out there, especially a small child. Um, Were there any dogs on the search with you guys?
No.
No dogs at this search. Okay.
No.
And so you guys are walking around. Are you guys in the water itself as well? Like, did you get wet?
Yeah, there were times that people were intentionally like in the water, crossing the water, and then there were other times where people were unintentionally in the water as well.
Yeah. It sounds like somebody may have fell.
Yeah.
It was pretty cold out there. Hopefully nobody got sick. So you're going out there, you're finding miscellaneous things. Outside of the child's bicycle, did you come across anything that stood out to you that may have been relevant?
No, there wasn't anything that we found that, in my opinion, was relevant. I think there wasn't a lot, to be honest, that we found that was even questionable. I guess there was the bicycle and a pair of sunglasses were found.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, it was just things that clearly wouldn't be related.
Gotcha. And and so you're searching for you're going 5 kilometers. How long did this take for the search to go for?
So we, like I said, I think it was around 9 a.m. when we first entered the woods, and we exited just after 4 p.m.
Got you. And it was only a 1-day search, right? From what I remember.
Yeah, it was a 1-day search. Yep.
Okay. And so, anybody get lost? Did you guys get lost? Is it easy to get lost out there?
Yes, you certainly could get lost. And I think one group did veer off trail for a bit, but then were able to get back on course. So I don't think anybody was lost in a bad way.
Now, a couple of questions are coming in from the live chat. One I just saw was, did you see any mine shafts, anything like that somebody or child, like caves of some sort that a child could go into?
Yeah, I know this area definitely has mine shafts and mining activity from the past. We didn't cross any of those to my knowledge. Certainly not that I noticed anyway.
Okay. And so from your knowledge of the mines in the past, like, I'm not familiar with the area. Where, like, how often would you come across one if you were, or how frequently are they out there?
Yeah, that's a good question, and I also don't really know the answer
Gotcha.
to that either. I'm sure that there's probably documentation of some of that mining activity from the past somewhere, but yeah, I wouldn't know where those mine shafts would be specifically.
Interesting. Parrot comes in, a Parrot Rescue with $6.99. Thank you so much, Parrot Rescuer. Let's see. And then, so if you guys have any questions for us, please put up a couple of stars so that way we know that you guys are talking to us in the live chat. And so, did this search change your mind about anything? Did you go in thinking one thing and then maybe perhaps this changed your mind, or did this confirm what you may have been thinking beforehand?
Yeah, I think, well, I will say, and because I'm sure people probably are wondering, I'm pretty skeptical about this case. I have not made up my mind what I believe, to be honest, because there's a lot of conflicting information.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say that I don't really know what is actually out there for concrete information. There really isn't a lot. So yeah, did it change my mind? I think that there's been like a lot of speculation, like, oh, if they left boot prints on the pipeline trail, well, there would be a trail of boot prints leading to those. That's definitely not the case, because like I said, it's mostly vegetation. And if you're a light person, you're not going to leave a mark in that type of vegetation.
Right.
And then there are areas where it's gravel or mud where you would leave boot imprints. So it certainly would be possible to walk along that trail not leave any tracks except for, some incidental ones when you stepped in the right place to actually create them.
That's good. That's good to know. That really is. And I understand too. There's definitely there's a lot of speculation out there in this case. To me, that's why I try to stick to with what the RCMP put out there. They put out like these documents, and I think there was like 2 different sets of documents. One was redacted heavily, one was less redacted, and then from what I understand is they're trying to get out some more that are even less redacted. And in those, there's some things that mean something, some things that ended up not being relevant. And when it comes down to it, it just kind of seems like with the boot prints and stuff that they wandered off there. Now, were the parents being neglectful? I can't argue against that. I've said that I don't know how many times. I won't argue against somebody saying that parents should have been watching them. They should have. But them being in the woods and the parents doing something nefarious, just kind of, those 2 stories don't make sense together. And so, well, anywho, moving on. While you were out there and you were searching out there and you were looking around, notice any type of animals? What kind of animal activity should somebody expect out there?
We didn't see any animals on our walk through there, but of course we probably would have been scaring them away as we were walking through the woods. If it's like the rest of Nova Scotia, I would expect there's probably coyotes here.
Okay.
There's of course deer and bear. I think the population of black bear in Nova Scotia is like 8,000. Nova Scotia is not a huge province, so there are quite a few black bear in this province, and there's a ton of coyotes as well. So those definitely would be in this area, I would assume. I'd be very surprised if they weren't. And but yeah, we didn't see any animals in person, but definitely seen, like I said earlier, there are trails where they're going like to water sources and those sorts of things. Another thing that I wanted to add before I forget about this was, while we were searching, the presence of the original search markers can't be overstated. They were so dense. I don't know what the distance was between these markers, but clearly they were maintaining a certain distance between these markers as they searched. You could always see like from one marker to the next, to the next, to the next kind of thing.
Yeah.
And the areas where we walked through were just full of those markers. But that said, at the same time, I think, woods like this, if you happen to be looking one way when you should have been looking the other, it's like finding a needle in a haystack, really. You could walk through here thousands of times and right by the thing you're looking for and still miss it, in my opinion.
Oh yeah. I mean, I was listening to some folks. They were doing another search. I want to say this was like in Australia, maybe. A young lady went missing. She had her phone with her and was using like an app phone, like a maps and to hike. She got lost and she still had signal, and she was somewhat signal. She had GPS, so she was able to see where she was at, and it was marking her all over the place. And multiple searches. They just recently found her phone after a few years in the area that they'd been searching multiple times. And they had her down to that location, and I think she'd been missing for like 2 years maybe. And they finally found the phone. I'm not sure where they're at now. It just happened like a couple of weeks ago, and I've been following that one. And it was underneath like all the leaves and the brush that had been out there, for the last 2 years. And so I think they found it with a metal detector of some sort. And so, yeah, I can imagine it being something very similar out there, that it's, there's a lot of vegetation on the ground, dead or alive.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And rocks, Nova Scotia is very rocky, and this area is no exception. And like I said before, the tree root, all those uprooted trees, there's a ton of spots where things could hide.
Now, being from the area, during the time when the kids went missing in May, Early May. Is that, or shouldn't there should be quite a few animals around that time, correct? Because we hear these things with the FLIR, and Daniel says that they told him that they only caught like a coyote and a beaver, and that was it. I struggle to believe that to be the case. I wonder if the woods were just too dense for the drones to pick up certain things. Like, is the forest dense enough that it would be very difficult for some to look up, basically, or something to look down?
Yeah, definitely visually. It would be too difficult to visually, I would think, identify anything from the air in most places, because yeah, it's very dense in that way. The trees are close together, their branches are touching, like the canopy is just solid essentially in a lot of places. So yeah, you wouldn't be able to see through. Now, in terms of like heat detection and that sort of thing, I'm not sure on that.
Right. Yeah,
But
no, of course.
in general, yeah, there would have to be animals. That's when bears are coming out of hibernation at that time of the year, and coyotes never stop, so they're always around.
Yeah, that was one of the things that when I heard that there was only 2 animals picked up, I was like, all right, well, this equipment isn't strong enough to pick up smaller or a lot of things through this dense forest, or they were just kind of in a very small area, and that was being searched and had been searched, and it fled the animals away, in that small area. And so, that those were kind of my deductions in that. Let's see.
Yeah, another thing is animals generally are most active at dawn and dusk. That definitely applies to bears and coyotes. So that's when they go out to feed and look for food. Primarily is at dawn and dusk. So the other times of the day, they're not quite as active.
Got you. I'm not sure about that, doctor. If you would email me, that'd be great. There you go. Yeah, it was in Tasmania. X-Man knows what I'm talking. He actually the one, I think he posted it up. I don't remember if it was him who I'd seen it, or if I saw it and then he posted it up, and it just so happened I'd just seen it also. But I think it may have been Mark that posted, and that's where I got it. And then that was the search that's out there. They just found the phone. It's crazy. They found her phone 18 yards from her last ping. They couldn't see it in the first search. Yeah, so I mean 18 yards from where it was pinged, and they couldn't find it. So crazy what's probably out there that's been missed. But yeah, you mentioned that animals should have been around that time. I don't think that an animal may have done something to the kids. I do think that maybe perhaps there's going to be some sort of animal situation here, whether it be scattering of remains, and I don't want to sound ugly, and I don't mean that to be bad, but if they did succumb if they did wander off and succumb to the natural causes from out there being out there, animals are going to spread those remains. Could an animal have been what scared them into the woods? Could an animal have been what attracted them into the woods, whether it was a bunny or something of that nature? Could they have followed it into the woods after walking a certain distance? Not necessarily from their house. I strongly suspect that they walked from their house. Now, why we're not finding them on the pipeline or anywhere else, like right here, right there, my opinion, I think that maybe perhaps they could have wandered off at any point. And like you said, there's a lot of trails out there. They just haven't been searched. Do you know, I'm going to pull this off real quick, and I'm going to share my screen. Do you know if this area, I want to point out an area real quick. If this area, you see where this white line is? Like if this area here past going this direction, if that's going to be searched anytime soon or during the spring. I know you guys focused in over here by the house, but I believe the footprint was somewhere around here, going this direction away from the road. Do you think there's going to be a search out here in this direction?
I'm not sure. I know that they have some areas in mind as far as I know, but I'm not sure where those are.
Okay.
Or what that will be.
Yeah, I'm hoping they come out this way. I know that it was outside of the search area at first because it was a little bit of a distance away. It's about, I think, 2 kilometers 2.5 kilometers from the house, which isn't like completely too far. But I know that when they were first searching, I think Michelle After Dark had put out a video where the initial search, I think, ended like right here. And that's why they didn't find it until like 1 a.m. or something of that nature. And so, and anything you want to get, let everybody else know about the search that maybe perhaps could give them a better clarity of what it was like out there.
I have some notes. I'm just going to quickly go through these just to make sure I didn't miss anything important, because there were some points I wanted to make sure that I brought up.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think the only other interesting thing that I wanted to mention was that we actually did have a CBC, which is the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, the media corporation, actually came with us for the first kilometer of the search. They actually came right through the woods. They had their cameras, and a couple of the reporters came along with us. I thought that was interesting. I didn't realize they would get so involved. I think I don't really think I have much else to add, but I will restate again just how obvious it was, how thorough the initial search was because of all the flagging. I can't really overstate that enough. Like there was just flags everywhere, and when the woods got more dense, the distance between the flags became less. So in dense areas of the woods, they were obviously looking harder in those areas. Yeah,
that's good to know. And you brought in a really good insight about what it was like out there, what the scenery is like, what the terrain is, and the fact that there is some dense parts and there are some navigatable parts that some kids could navigate through, and then again, obviously, some parts that they couldn't. Keep me in the loop. Let me know. You don't have to let me know when you're going on it, or if you do, I'm not going to tell everybody when the next one is. Well, you know what? I think they do announce it. Please Bring Me Home announces it. So it's a little bit different than the cadaver dogs. I know with the cadaver dogs, they don't want anybody, or with any type of dogs, they don't want anybody to know because that can interfere with what the dogs do. But right. Keep me updated when you guys are going out there again. That way I can spread the word as well, so that way we can get some more volunteers out there so they can get as much of a thorough search as possible.
Yeah, definitely. I think more volunteers would be good. I think the more people that are in the woods looking, of course, we're increasing the likelihood of actually discovering something. Yeah. I would think that we're in the middle of winter here right now, so I'm not sure exactly what the conditions are like in that area. I would expect they probably have snow cover at this point. If not, they will. And then in the spring, that's going to melt. It's going to flood the rivers and everything. And there's kind of like a period in the spring where it is difficult to travel in the woods, especially in places where there's water like there is here. So I would expect probably like April. I would think that would probably be when the searches will get started, if I had to guess.
Yes. And go out there and search. I know that there was I guess somebody was saying something to the effect that, don't go out there and search, because if you find evidence of something, you could be tampering. If you find something out there, it's because the kids wandered off. There's no, you know what I mean? You're not going to tamper with any evidence if you're finding something 2-3 miles out there, and you're just going to help us figure out where these kids went. And so, get out there if you can. Now, don't go on anybody's property without any permission. Stick to the public trails and things of that nature and what you can. And really do it with the organization, because you don't want to come across. I know there was a situation where some of the searchers went off the beaded path and ended up on somebody's property, and there was some sort of altercation. We don't want any of that happening either. You know what I mean?
No, exactly. Yeah.
And so, that's pretty much where that is. One of the things somebody had asked, is there a path from Daniel's house to where the boot prints were? And yes, there is. Let me show it real quick to you guys. So from Daniel's house, and I don't know why this isn't going to work. You know what? I think it might be because I'm sharing multiple things. I'm gonna pull yours off as well. Okay.
Go for it.
No. I don't want to do that. Okay. I don't know. I think it just might be my computer on my end. But there is a path directly from Daniel's house to where the boot prints were. It's a pretty straight, narrow path. It's not very difficult to follow. They would just literally be following the road and making one turn. I'm gonna try to bring it up one more time real quick. Okay, there we go. Okay, boom. So from Daniel's house here, the kids came out and then just kind of followed the roadway, made a right onto this gravel road. Here's where the blanket is. You hang a left up this road. All right, and you continue up the road. It turns into this little path here. This little trail that opens up, and then you enter right here where the where it kind of leads into the this is your pipeline, and apparently this is exact location, GPS location that I was able to get for where the boot prints were. And so I think it's literally 200 yards away from the opening of where they could have walked. Now, that's if they turned up. They didn't have to turn that way. They could have gone just straight here and then made a turn towards the boot prints. And so they didn't necessarily have to go that way. But there is a pretty clear there's two clear direct paths to it. Either going up that way, turning up the dirt road, and then hanging a left where the blanket was found, and then just following that to get to the pipeline, or just going straight and turning left at the pipeline, and you're right there. So not very difficult terrain to walk through to get to where the boot prints were. Johnny, I want to thank you. Is there anything else you got for everybody before we call it a show?
No, I think I'm good. Thank you.
I want to say thank you so much for joining us. I think you really, really did opened up at least my mind and about the possibilities of where else these kids could have gone. Multiple trails out there. The terrain is not navigational if you're walking on the trails. Obviously, if you go into the forest, a little bit different situation. Thank you so much for joining us. And I hope you had a Merry Christmas and a Happy Holidays and a Happy New Year, my man.
Same to you. Happy New Year.
Thank you, buddy. All right. Well, guys, so that was Johnny. I'm going to stay on here for just a couple more minutes. Want to tell you guys what I'm going to be doing for the next few days. So tomorrow I'm going to be going live twice. We're going to be doing Football Friday. And then afterwards, I'm going to be going live again, talking about the dentist who him and his wife, Spencer Tepe and Monique Tepe, passed away. Were gunned down inside of their home in their bedroom. We've been talking about that case. I've been kind of, breaking it down for everybody. I feel like this is a random person, not somebody close to the Tepes. I've explained why, and here I just dropped a video earlier today that a 911 call came in a few days before the Tepes were murdered down the street, a couple blocks away, where somebody was trying to break into their house. And I wonder if this was somebody familiar with the area and just targeting houses that were there. And if in this scenario, we have an unopened back door again. So go check that out. I'm going to be talking about that tomorrow after Football Friday. We got playoffs, guys. So if you're an NFL fan, I'll be talking about the NFL tomorrow night about 7:30 Central, 8:30 p.m. On the East Coast. That's 9:30 in Nova Scotia. And then right after that, I'll be going live again talking about the dentist and his wife. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, ring the notification bell, guys. You guys have a great night. I'll see you guys then. Peace out.